Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of mail for you here. 4 packages, not that bad. It's not just one. On a overcast, and the morning was very, very rainy. The rain has gone now, and I don't think this area is going to see rain again for a long time, weeks. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. But I've a fairly deep porch and a fairly conscientious set of mail deliverers, so these things aren't really in any danger. There is a box in this pile, but it's so small, it's so thin that it doesn't really have the exclamation point oomph that boxes tend to have. So I won't make any big formalistic fuss about doing it last. Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. I actually heard about this from the publicist. What on earth is this? Oh my God, look at all this stuff. Okay, I don't need any of that. What have we got here? This is Exhale by David Reel, MD, Hope, Healing, and a Life in Transplant. All about lung transplants. A young mother dying on the waiting list in front of her 2 children. A father with a rare form of lung cancer who has been turned down for a transplant by several hospitals. A teenager who was considered not smart enough to be worthy of a transplant. A woman dies because a surgeon provides the wrong donor lung. The days and nights waiting for donor organs to become available, aware of the painful reality that someone needs to die so that another patient could live. These are some of the stories in Exhale, a riveting memoir in which the author spent about the author's 10 years spent directing the lung transplant program at Stanford and the very human endeavor of transplantation performed by people with powerful attributes and profound flaws. Okay, so this is all about lung transplants. Good Lord. Here's hoping none of you ever need one. Have you ever known anyone who had one? They must be the devil's own nuisance to recover from. In 2016, while he was at the top of his field, the author did the unthinkable. He quit. He was burnt out from the daily battles of being a doctor, the patients that couldn't be treated because of finances, the operations that failed, and the countless hours spent trying to make the modern miracle of organ transplants a bit more miraculous. Okay, I kind of like that. So this is going to come out as a hardcover in mid-May. So it's still time. It's around the corner. But now it's on your radar. This is, do I have the date anywhere on here? Nice and convenient for me to see. There we go. Now it's on your radar in case you are or know someone who might be interested in this for personal reasons. This comes out in mid-May. Exhale. And we have the ergonomics under control here. So then we have the box. As you can see, it's wafer thin. So I don't have much hope that it's going to be anything grand and life-changing. What have we got here? This is a tiny little thing. Here, let's get this is let's see here. Oh my. Oh, this is unusual. Oh my, I didn't expect this at all. Okay. Boy, there's no note here at all. This is from someone that you will know, an author that you might recognize. This is BookTube's own Daniel Green, who I have criticized in videos before. I subscribe to his channel. I watch his channel. But I've also criticized some of his more affected mannerisms. And this is his novella, Breach of Peace. A very, very nice cover. Who did the cover? That is a professional fantasy cover. Cover art by Felix Ortiz. And the book design is J.S. Kennedy. They did good work. So this is Daniel Green's novella. I've seen a couple of booktubers review this thing. But I didn't think that I was going to get one. I mean, wouldn't it... I mean, he is his own publicist, right? He's a self-published author. So I'm pretty sure he's not watching. I'm pretty sure that he is part of... I'm pretty sure that he would number himself among... I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that he would number himself among the bigger booktube channels that consider me Satan incarnate for one little incident 5 years ago without ever having checked to see if that's actually true. I never understand that. I myself check. If I come across, if the YouTube algorithm suggests a video to me, and I watch it and it gets my hackles up, and I think, oh, you know, what a pompous git you are, or how offensive this is. Before I do anything, I go to the comments field and see what kind of reaction this person is getting, whether or not they are liked by the people who watch them on a regular basis. But I've mentioned this on this channel before. There are booktube channels. There are booktubers whose basic philosophy is, and it's true not only for booktube but for reading just in general, that there are good people. That some books and some reading, some approach to subjects will mean you're a good person, and other approaches mean you're a bad person. And I inadvertently stepped right in that adder pit when I first started on BookTube. And I'd be willing to bet that Daniel Green doesn't have the time of day for me. But wouldn't this have had to come from him? Wouldn't this have had to be sent to me by him? I mean, he doesn't have an official publisher. He is a publisher. He publishes himself. This is a pretty nice looking thing to publish yourself with. But wouldn't he have had to decide to send this to me? That's kind of odd. And I don't know him at all. I'm not in any contact with him, so I have nowhere to ask. But in a way, it doesn't matter. I can already hear some of you saying, in a way, it doesn't matter, right? Because I'm a reviewer and this is a book. So let's see what we have here. Let's see here. Evidence points to, or when an imperial family is found butchered, officers of God are called to investigate. Evidence points to a rebel group trying to stab fear into the very heart of the empire. Inspector Clyd begins a harrowing hunt for those responsible, but when a larger conspiracy comes to light, she struggles to trust even the officers around her. And this has a blurb from Evan Winter, a nice long blurb. Existing in a world that feels like it's been clawed from the cruelest corners of Joe Abercrombie's first Law series, Green's novella blends fantasy, mystery, and horror in a stunningly unique fusion of the works of Arthur Conan Doyle and Stephen King. my. From page one, we're pulled into the book's universe by a puzzle of gruesome whodunit, and though the crime is overseen by a cast of compellingly competent characters, genius is little match for speed and force of what's coming. Indeed, the book's propulsive page careens onward until it slams us up against a finish as powerful as the action and catharsis from Alien's final showdown. Not sure that Evan Winter is doing this little novella any favors with all this over-the-top praise. And at the time when even the best fiction struggles to outrun the madness of reality, Breach of Peace is everything I could ever want from a novella and more. Okay, well, the cover glorifies smoking, and I have my own suspicions on that regarding Daniel Green. But one way or another, care has been done to make this a professional product. It doesn't look self-published, as so many self-published books don't look self-published anymore. And also, and by way of foregrounding, I have watched a great number of Daniel Green's videos, and I know that he understands a great amount about the sort of the principles of writing. He gets it. He understands it. How much he does, I don't really know. There are two elements that one is writing every day and the other is reading a lot every day. And I'm not 100% sure he does both of those. So the execution will be all, and it will be another thing. But I don't even know. There's no pub sheet with this thing, of course, but I don't even know when this comes out. But it is now on the top of the list. I will read this today. It's just a tiny little thing. How long is this? 134 pages, and there is Daniel Green. I'm sure that some of you recognize him. He has a very, very big booktube channel. Don't even suggest that this channel will ever get that big. I don't want it to be that big. How does it begin? The scene at the front door was seared in Clyd's mind. A child hanging by a chain from the second-story window, his swollen, bloody face confronting her as she approached the manor. Protocol was to leave the location of a crime untainted for as long as possible. Clyd had nonetheless ordered a beat cop to remove the horrid sight. The boy, no older than 10, deserved his dignity, but the chain was thick and the officer was still sawing away. Now Clyd stood before the servants of the manor, assembled in stunned silence. We won't rest until the truth comes to light. God bless. God bless, the staff echoed, some through tears. Okay. Boy, what an opening. I mean, it's vivid. It's also no crime investigator would ever hack the chain in half to let down the dead body before it was examined. Unless maybe this is a world with no forensics of any kind. We'll have to see. I'll find out today. How interesting, though. I wonder why it came to me. Well, anyway, let's take a look at this next one. I'm not going to get over the surprise of that, so we might as well move on. So this next one is from Farrar, Straus and Giroux. This is from July. This comes out in July. This is by Jan Werner Müller, and it is Democracy Rules. Liberty, equality, uncertainty. Oh my. Let's see here. In this book, the author brings us back to first principles, defining what a democracy actually is and guiding us through the components and institutions that make up a representative democracy. Mueller analyzes some of the troubling trends of recent years, looking at situations from the United States and the UK to Hungary and Brazil. Oh, those are the four offenders, aren't they? And he offers some guidelines for how we might think about and safeguard democracies going forward. In the future, that means coming in the future. We're not going anywhere. Among the concepts that the author brings to bear in democracy rules are that of, quote, a loyal opposition, and of opposition party which is respected and has rights within the system, and is in turn loyal to the procedures and ground rules of that system, and also of militant democracy, a democracy which restricts some rights in order to defend itself against parties and individuals set on undermining the system itself. Okay. Militant democracy. You don't have to be militant. It's already against the law to incite a violent insurrection against the U.S. government. It's against the law in Washington, D.C., and it's against the law federally. It's already against the law. You don't have to become a militant democracy to throw those people in jail for the rest of their life. You're just a democracy to do that. The laws are already there. You don't have to become anything. But boy, oh boy, hard not to think about this policing bill that's going through Parliament right now in the UK that would effectively make protesting illegal. The wording of the bill, I mean, it could change, but the wording of the bill is that if the protest bothers anybody, then it's illegal and the police can break it up. Well, that's the whole point of protests. Let's see here. The author writes about what he calls the, quote, hard border, the boundary outside of which certain activities are impermissible within a democracy. And he puts forward ideas for how to improve our political parties and media ecosystem. Okay, so this comes out in July. I have a strong feeling from reading this that it is going to soft handle January 6th, when the President of the United States incited a violent insurrection to overthrow the government, execute his vice president, nullify a legal election, and install himself as an unelected dictator. I have a feeling this is going to soft pedal that, when that ought to be the bright, hard line through American history from now on. No one in American history, no president has ever come anywhere close to doing anything like that. That was an existential threat to this country, and Donald Trump wanted it to succeed. He watched the violence, wanting it to succeed. That is not a militant democracy to want him in jail or up against a wall. But one way or another, it's going to be taught. This book is going to be talked about come July. That's for sure. So let's do this last one, and then we'll be done. And I'll be free to ponder on my own the arrival of Daniel Green's book. That is going to just bug me for the rest of the day. He must have sent it to me himself. I mean, how could he not? If it came from a publisher, well, fine. Every publisher in Christendom has my mailing address, but it has to. It can't have happened that way unless he does have some sort of, PR distribution center or other. He seems like he's got his head screwed on right. So maybe he does. Maybe he does have something like that. Maybe he outsources it. He clearly took a lot of professional care with the proofreading and the cover and whatnot. So maybe he takes professional care with that as well. And he does have a service that just goes on Muck Rack or the Book Rack or wherever, finds every working critic and sends them a copy. I don't know, but it's bothering me. It's bothering me. What happens if I read his novella and I really like it? The last video that I did about him was me ripping him to shreds for being a phony baloney. Am I going to have to change that? Am I going to have to make a Daniel Green cheerleading video? I will. If his novella really pleases me, I probably will. Anyway, I'll obsess about it off camera, I promise. So the next one is something we've seen before, and one of you set me straight on what I was thinking about. This is Genesis, the story of how everything began, by Guido Tonelli. And I was mistaking this originally for another popular science book by another Italian, and one of you set me straight on what that was. So, and it's not this. And we already saw this. This is the finished copy. This comes out in mid-April, so a couple of weeks. And this is renowned particle physicist Guido Tonelli, who was a central member of the group that confirmed the existence of the Higgs boson, the God particle. A visiting scientist at CERN and a professor of physics at the University of Pisa, Tonelli is also the author of a number of books and a lifelong lover of the humanities. And FSG is very excited to announce, is this all FSG today? Maybe, except for Daniel Green, but I'm not going to get on that again. Plotting out the story that takes us from the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago through the rapid expansion of space, the coherence of stable matter, the arrival of the first stars and galaxies, and ultimately the evolution of living organisms on our own planet. Keep in mind, those are separate subjects, right? The Big Bang and the origin of life on Earth are separate subjects. But anyway, the author's book follows the narrative organization of the book of Genesis. Why would you do that? It's one creation myth among 10,000. Why would you do that? Divided into 7 days of creation, or phases of the evolution of the universe, this book is based on the most current science, but is filled with awe, beautifully written, and echoes the many origin myths that have been told over the centuries and across cultures. Okay, but why would you do that? Why would you do that, Guido? Why would you do that? The story that you're telling is not a myth. It's demonstrable. Myths are not demonstrable. Why would you do that? Why would you draw an equivalence? Especially since the audience that thinks of those myths as real thinks of this as false. And it's demonstrably not. Well, anyway, I mean, the people who are going to look at the stuff that's in here and say, oh, it's all hogwash. Were you there? Did you see it? How do you know that any of that is true? That an explosion made something out of nothing, and that's all. That's where we came from. Was that once there was nothing, then there was an explosion, and then from the explosion came human beings? Did you ever see an explosion create an ordered system? The odds of it are like a tornado sweeping through a junkyard and assembling a car. How many times have I heard that crap over and over again in my life? How many times have I done that? From Christians. I have heard this over and over again from Christians, fundamentalist, science-denying Christians, who say, so you believe that once there was nothing and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everything came into being? Well, it must take a lot of faith to be an atheist. And I want to say to them, and I often have said, what is your origin myth? You have just described your origin myth, where there is nothing and then everything immediately appears out of nowhere. The only difference being this doesn't have a God, and yours does. But there are a lot of other differences too. There are a lot of other differences. Well, I guess it's his decision to do, to set this up any way that he wants. This is translated, I assume. Yes? Translated from the Italian by Erica Segre and Simon Carnell. So this comes out in a couple of weeks. I have the advanced copy, but and I think I read a chunk of the advanced copy. I'll have to check the beginning of it to make sure. But I'll read this and review it for the middle of the month. So there you go. That's our mail. I'm trying heroically not to concentrate on the mystery here in this package. So we have Genesis by Guido Tonelli. We have Democracy Rules by Jan Werner Mueller. We have Exhale by David Vey. And we have Breach of Peace by Daniel Green. So that 4 things, one of which I'm pretty sure Daniel Green's book is out already. And now that I think about it, is it possible that one of you sent it to me? I mean, he wouldn't send it to me. I don't think he would send it to me. I think I am verboten. I think that the Whisper network of mean girls that runs the upper tiers of BookTube, in which he is firmly lodged, 100,000 subscribers, he's firmly there. That Whisper network, I'm pretty sure, would cancel him completely if he had anything to do with me. But one of you could have sent it to me. Maybe one of you sent it to me wondering what I would make of it. If so, that was an extraordinary gift to do that. And you're going to get your wish, because I will read it and then I will review it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up before my camera dies, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.